I'm going to jump a chapter in your book because it's really relevant here. You've got a chapter called Unfreeze, right? And I find management mindset incredibly fascinating. And where our target market and a lot of our clients are community brokers, so they're on the smaller end, we've got a couple of medium-sized brokers as well. And the mindset's incredibly different. How do you go about, what's your advice to go about analyzing a subconscious habit you're unaware that you've got? So that mindset, community broker mindset that's, not in the digital revolution space, how do you go about starting to unpick that?
Well, pre-COVID, it was actually much more difficult, because, people, had books of business, and I work with a lot of smaller brokers, and I enjoy, interacting with them. And I see some very, very successful ones. And just because you're small doesn't mean that you can't embrace these latest technologies and processes. I mean, obviously, Zywave would maintain that we're a nice equalizer because we give you the tools that these large brokers have and allow you as a smaller broker to compete as if you were a larger broker and to have the same type of automation and look and feel. But also, Sarah, I'm sure with your assistance, they can start really learning how the big brokers operate and replicate their successes. But as for this concept of unfreeze, Don is really into. You would enjoy speaking to Don, Sarah. He's really into the psychology of this, and he actually went into took a class on neural networks to really understand how the brain works around these topics. And
Wow.
he talks about the Liu and change model, which is basically that for you to actually provide a recommendation, you first need to unfreeze current state. And pre-COVID, it was a slower burn that was going on. I think some of the agencies that weren't embracing digital disruption were seeing their business ebb, but it was at a slower pace. Now in the world of COVID, it's everything's a bear now. You can't go to a networking event and bump into someone and hope to get their business, or go to some type of sporting event with a customer. Now, really, increasingly, it's very much about a digital approach. Before COVID, I think the stats were 57% of the buying process is being done digitally now by the average buyer. And keep in mind that the other thing that's changed is not the fact that buyers are now increasingly doing most of their buying process digitally, but also the number of buyers has expanded. So instead of being one decision maker at an employer or your client, now the average decision takes 4 to 7 people. So it's increasingly more difficult if you're just solely relying upon relationship selling to become the best friend of all 7 people in one employer. So when you kind of do the math, 57% is now digital, and then 4 to 7 people are involved in a buying process. Increasing, you have to rely upon leverage and scale through digital means. Now with COVID, it's just really completely, the pendulum is flipped even faster. Now you can't, you have to do almost the majority of that process digitally, which includes virtual sessions like this. But also the number of buyers has continued to expand and even potentially expanded more. And those buyers, unfortunately, are not in a room together. And so you have to message and communicate with them more, all of which is better done or accentuated through digital means. So we've seen this movement with COVID absolutely drive digital adoption, digital transformation in a much more aggressive and ambitious way.